dating when you're younger, it's like a startup. And dating when you're older, it's more like a merger. You have your life already, they have their life already, and you've got to try and merge those lives. That's difficult, especially if you're really happy with your company. Do you want to merge your company with someone else's company? You got to think about that. Here's the thing, we're in a loneliness epidemic where 1 in 5 people globally feel lonely. And by not admitting when we're lonely, we're stopping a very important public health conversation, actually. Hi, I'm Simone Heng, and I'm an author and speaker on the topic of human connection.
Hi, I'm Noorindah Iskandar, and I'm the founder and writer behind sharingcurious.com. It's an online platform that explores sex and love without having to hide your Google search history. I wrote this article about still being single at 35 and just, still being hopeful, trying to look for love. And it was amazing the response I got. Like, that article got passed around even to strangers. People actually were DMing me saying that they thought they were feeling alone like this, and the truth is they were all doing the same thing and wondering, what's next.
I think people don't investigate their trauma until things start going wrong. So if you can't hold down a job, you can't maintain friendships with all your friends, you can't find a partner, that's when people start looking inwardly. And I would love the human condition to be different. For some reason, because of how it's been conditioned by media in the past or by cultural norms in the past, we feel shame around it, which we shouldn't, because it's a universal biological response, actually.
You could have great friends, you could have a partner, but if you're not being seen for who you are, if you're not being valued and acknowledged, you can feel perfectly lonely as well.
I think the big issue here with people feeling they can't be vulnerable and say they feel lonely is they are conflating incidental loneliness with chronic loneliness. Chronic loneliness is the kind of loneliness we associate with people who self-isolate, who might also be dealing with depression, anxiety, people who have stress hormones going through them and a feeling of hopelessness consistently over long periods of time. Loneliness is simply the body's biological response to the threat of being without your tribe. And that pang of loneliness you feel is actually the body's alarm to go out and connect.
Whenever I write essays that really resonate with people, they share similar sentiments when, they say, I have a great life, I shouldn't be feeling this. The truth is we're all humans, right? So we all feel these feelings. And the question then becomes, so are you gonna wallow in it, or are you just gonna be vulnerable and come out and say, hey, we're having the same feelings, same emotions, so let's go through it together. The more that we are able to talk about it without shunning it or repressing it, then the easier it is to let it pass.
So we have to look at the years that were lost in the pandemic specifically. These are key developmental years for women who are in Gen Z. They were robbed of 2.5, 3 years of this. They had to, within the 4 walls of their apartment and through screens, develop some form of knowledge of their own identity. And you can imagine when you're not so sure of your identity, or you might not have had the typical experience of getting to know yourself as an adolescent, and then you are thrust into a dating world. Reciprocity historically was a way that we knew that we were in good rapport with something. We're wired to be reciprocal. So if someone voice notes, you voice note. If someone just texts, you text. People who are good human connectors naturally do this. And it builds, and then it goes deeper. It might lead to a phone call or a video call, and then you meet up. But what we're seeing now, if you look at that entire period of time that Gen Z lost in the pandemic, is maybe this rule of reciprocity has been lost a little over digital communication. You can have an app with 100 low quality options for you, or you could have an in-person event with 5 great offline options for you. You're probably going to feel better about the in-person 5 options in a real room.
I found the Gen Zs, especially with things like dating apps, I find that for them, maybe they don't want to just settle with one person immediately. They just want to explore, and also they just want to pretty much put themselves first.
What we know about early childhood attachment and the work of John Bowlby is that we love as we were loved. Not all the time, but largely that's our first imprint. How we love other people is to do with how our early primary caregivers responded to our needs when we were in need. And that's how your attachment style can often be formed. So, people who've had an inconsistent roller coaster of a primary caregiver can develop anxious attachment style, for example. We know there is an over-representation of avoidant people in the dating pool because they cannot retain long-term relationships. Whether you're a boomer, a millennial, or a Gen Z, we are all yearning for genuine connection, and that means a physical attraction as well as an emotional one, not one without the other.
The younger generation, they are more aware of attachment styles, but strangely, ironically, they do end up being a bit more detached on the surface. Whenever I do my workshops or whenever I do have articles, sometimes I'll get messages or people asking questions saying, I was trying to play it cool with this person and now he's avoiding me, and I just find that I'm still thinking about him all the time. So I feel that maybe on the outside we project this independence, but there are still some things that we have to work on the inside as well. I think sometimes we paint it as very binary, like women have this experience on the app and men have this experience on the app. But the truth is, when I conduct certain workshops or when I have my mixes, there's all these guys who are really sweet, amazing people, and they come and tell me that they can't find anyone on the apps because it is biased, right? It's based on looks, it's based on that 5 seconds of glancing on your profile, and so you might miss out on someone just because in that 5 seconds, that doesn't look like your type.
I think men are also struggling in this climate. I think we know with dating apps that there's a complete oversaturation of a very small amount of good-looking men on these apps because it is a meat market. Whether in real life they're that great, but they know how to put together a profile. And so these men will get all the attention, all the love, because the nice guy in your group of friends back in 2010 didn't have an app to date on where he could make himself look like a 9 out of 10. All of a sudden, he's a 9 out of 10 on an app. And he's converting all his male friends like, oh my God, I can get so much sex on this app really easy in a way that never experienced that before in person. But back in 2010, when I was in my 20s, the 6 out of 10 was a 6 out of 10. He lived as a 6 out of 10. He behaved like the nice guy in correlation to his offerings to the world. And that's changed a bit. You're laughing, but it's true. I date like a boomer because I'm 40. So I have a different idea of dating. What I mean by dating like a boomer is I mean what I say. I actually chat with the aim to meet up. I'm on time. If I'm running late, I say so. Like if you write to me, I reply. I didn't know that this was a thing, that people chat endlessly to never meet. It's amazing to me how people speak about that like it's the Holy Grail. Whereas when I was in my 20s, it was people, you'd fall in love quite easily. It was easy. And now I think hookup culture has made that elusive. And now we have this swing back into the culture where people are becoming celibate, people are taking breaks from dating, people are exhausted and going on shows like Love is Blind to counteract the over-emphasis on physicality.
The thing is, at my age, at 40, we're so focused on work and so focused on trying to be a better person. So it is tricky to date, apart from maybe relying on dating apps or relying on meetups. Because of the nature of dating apps themselves, you know, the gamification of it, that you just keep swiping and you just feel like there's this never-ending buffet, you know, of potential partners. I just want to try and be as much as myself, because what I do, how I am online is how I am in real life.
So there's definitely a stigma. I don't lie on that app, so a lot of men will put their age. They're clearly 50, honey, clearly. But I was told by a guy that I once went on a date with, and he showed up and he had said he was 37 and I was 39. And it was obvious that he was much older, and he got really offended. But I was like, how do you not know that you're not fooling anyone? And then he said he puts that age as younger so that he will get younger women on the app, because he didn't want to date women his own age. When I go on a date, the person is not competing between other suitors for me. They're competing with my time that I can spend in solitude that I love with myself.
So it's no longer, does this person like me? It's more of, okay, I like this person. Can I see this person, you know, growing with me? And that's the change in my dating mindset. So it's less pick me, but more, okay, let's see where it goes. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, that's all right, I'm still good. I realized that actually what intimacy is, and true intimacy, is being seen and valued for who you are, despite all your flaws, and maybe even because of your flaws. What has changed is that I realized, you know, we all grow into different versions of ourselves, right? So the Noorindah of 5 years ago is not this, and the Noorindah of 10 years ago is not this. So how can I expect my partner to be the same consistent person all along? So it is about having acceptance that, you know, whoever you're with, you're going to grow and become different people, and it's how you work around it and how you love each other still for it.
And I actually think the more as a woman you become completely and wholly in love with the life that you've built, you like your income, you like where you live, and all of these things, the more reticent you're going to be to let anything substandard in. I'm 40, but I definitely think when I was younger and all of the ducks were not in the row in terms of my dream career, my dream lifestyle, all of these things, it was much easier. I needed things from somebody else. I don't really need anything from anyone else now. This is also the problem of being like a modern Singaporean woman. And who could match this level of consciousness? Then, it's me and Alex.
Why do I still date? I want my happy ending. It's so cheesy, I'm gonna start crying. Yeah, I still want to be loved for who I am.